I'm Roy, and this is the story of owning and sailing my Moody 31 yacht, Mistress Q. Based at Instow on the North Devon coast, it is the highs and lows of cruising in the Bristol Channel and beyond, where every passage is a new adventure. The 50-mile round Lundy Race, organised by Ep13 Yacht Club, is arguably the best event in the annual calendar, and 2026 was no exception, apart from my schoolboy error before the start, but more of that later. For the race this year, I was joined by Andy and later by David, a friend from Shropshire. It started so well, with a fantastic sail up from Instow to Ilfracombe on the Friday, ready for the race on Saturday. Ilfracombe Yacht Club enjoys a superb location right on the harbour and is renowned for its friendly hospitality. We were welcomed by Commodore Rod Coombe, and the race brief was presented by Mark Runsom, who owned Mistress Q when she was called Mistress quickly.
I was just thinking when I put on my shirt earlier, it's a 2006 one, 20 years ago, and reminded me of that particular. It was the second event, because we started in 2005. And I always remember there was a chap, a local skipper, had taken part in the first race in 05, booked in again on the second one for 06, but he wasn't here at the briefing. I remember thinking, well, that's strange. But anyway, next morning I was up on the hill, on Lantern Hill, and there he was on the start line. I thought, that's okay. And saw him at the end of the day on the Saturday evening here in the clubhouse, and he said, oh, I didn't have a very good day. I said, well, how's that then? Well, he said, I was sailing away, he said, I had a lovely sail, I was tight on the wind, but I was just going to clear the south light. And he said, it was just about okay, I was going to get round. And he said, then I put the radio on, which he didn't have on all day, obviously. He said, another skipper called me up and said, why are you so far south? He said, well, I've got around the south light. And the other skipper said, well, this year it's north about. Is it? He said. Well, last year it was south about. So there's the moral of the story. That won't be for you because you've all attended the briefing. So you'll know which way round you're going. Thanks again. Thank you.
Race day on the Saturday started early and disastrously for me, when I discovered the tender was wedged under the boat between the bilge keels on our drying visitor mooring. No amount of pushing and pulling would shift it, and we'd already missed the race start. Fortunately, Ilfracombe Lifeboat were returning from a shout in their D-class inshore lifeboat, and very kindly jumped into the water to free the tender by jumping on the inflated tubes until it popped out the other side. As one female crew member said, it was just like giving birth. A real schoolboy error and a lesson hard learned, that is, not to leave the tender on a long painter. Huge thanks to Ilfracombe Lifeboat for all your help. We'd missed the start by some 45 minutes, but were allowed to cross the line with the original 7 o'clock start time. Just happy to be sailing, we quickly set about trying to catch up with the rest of the fleet. The strengthening westerly wind allowed us a close haul tack towards the north of Lundy.
Increasing 6 at times later. Under moderate, occasionally rough in southwest.
There is not much shipping in the Bristol Channel these days, but vessels do pass Lundy to the north and to the south. We were being caught by the 125-metre specialised ro-ro cargo ship City of Hamburg, which had a critical point of approach of 0.4 nautical miles, timed in 20 minutes. It was with some relief that we saw the ship alter course by a few degrees to pass us to stern. Thank you to that watchkeeper and bon voyage. With the following tide and favourable wind, we were making good progress at over 7 knots towards Lundy. At this stage we had the ketch moorhen in our sights, and we followed them around the northern tip of Lundy. Lundy Island in the Bristol Channel is just 3 miles long and half a mile wide. With a light at each end, it is a nature reserve owned by the Landmark Trust and famous for its dramatic cliffs, seabird colonies including puffins, seals and its remote and isolated atmosphere. It was time for local pasties from John's Deli in Instow for lunch. Once around the southern tip of Lundy, we hoisted the cruising chute, but found it difficult to manage in the strengthening 20-knot winds, so eventually sailed a more leisurely downwind leg back to Ilfracombe. We crossed the finishing line approximately 10 hours after our delayed start, still within the time limit, and we didn't come last. So it was with thoughts of what might have been that we repaired to the bar in the yacht club and enjoyed the post-race celebrations. After all, there's always another year. Thank you Ilfracombe Yacht Club for a fantastic rally.
Steve's already said it earlier. We are a club of volunteers. There's no paid staff in this club whatsoever. All the people you see today working in the club are all non-paid volunteers. They give up their spare time.
Slap and warm my back and say,
And finally, thanks to Andy and David for joining me on the Lundy Race, and let's meet again on another adventure with Mistress Q.